In 1968, after the release of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Kubrick had no plans to shoot A Clockwork Orange. According to newspapers at the time, his next project was Napoleon. This epic film, which should have been funded by MGM and directed by Kubrick, was cancelled because of another similar film, Waterloo. After Kubrick's death, Napoleon was left to Spielberg. At the Berlin Film Festival in 2023, Spielberg once again mentioned that he would adapt Napoleon into a miniseries. In fact, the materials Kubrick prepared for Napoleon had already been compiled into volumes by his wife and brother-in-law. The title of the book is Stanley Kubrick's Napoleon, the Greatest Movie Never Made. This book is an exhaustive collection of materials Kubrick collected for Napoleon, writing notes, transcripts of conversations, correspondence, and a screenplay he wrote in 1969. Why did Kubrick want to shoot Napoleon? How much effort did he put into this project? I will reveal them one by one. After a rough scan of the book, I can say that few films have so far come close to the preparations for Napoleon. To understand the history of that period, Kubrick browsed almost all Napoleon-related books written in English and organized them into a small library for the use of the project. Another central figure in the Napoleon project is Felix Markham, a professor of history at Oxford University, and an expert on Napoleon who was hired by Kubrick as a historical consultant. The book begins with a transcript of Kubrick's conversation with Markham, which covers a wide range of topics. For example, why did the commander cut off the head of Napoleon's envoy? The birth class of the insurgent Chouannerie leader.
Georges Cadoudal.
The plot of the Rue Saint-Nicaise. Regulations on newspapers after Napoleon became emperor. The conversation was mostly Kubrick's constant questioning of historical details. In order to have a precise grasp of the Napoleonic era, he occasionally relayed the views of other historians, checking with Markham that what he was reading was sound. In the image section, Kubrick organized a team that traveled all over Europe to search for images left over from the Napoleonic period. It includes portraits of historical figures, photographs of items and sketches of daily life, etc. The images are classified according to the initials of their names and stored using IBM's most advanced aperture card technology at that time. Kubrick wanted to shoot the film in a real location, which would save money and increase the quality of the film. He sent people to France and Italy to scout and secure locations. For example, the residence of Napoleon's first wife Josephine.
The Château de Malmaison.
After the failure of the Battle of Leipzig, Napoleon temporarily lived in the Palace of Fontainebleau, where he signed the Treaty of Fontainebleau. There is also the famous Waterloo. And Napoleon's last exile, St. Helena. Costume designer David Walker made military uniforms for the armies of France, Austria, Russia, Britain, and Prussia based on historical images, including infantry, cavalry, and grenadiers of various countries. He asked Oxford history graduates to compile archives of 50 major figures of the Napoleonic period. They recorded the key events in each person's life and kept them in chronological order. He found NASA's lens for photographing the dark side of the moon, going to use it to shoot actors by candlelight. This lens was later used several times in Barry Lyndon. In the production proposal submitted to MGM, he tried all kinds of cost-saving methods. He found a company that could print paper military uniforms. The paper they use is fireproof, drip-dry and has a 300-pound breaking strength. And each set is only $1 to $4 depending on the detailing. The $4 uniform looks marvelous from a distance of 30 yards. He negotiated with the Romanian government to rent 30,000 troops for the shooting of war scenes. He wants to use the front projection technology used in 2001: A Space Odyssey to shoot outdoor scenes indoors, so that the impact of weather on the shooting process can be reduced, thereby saving costs. The notes in the book show his ideas. In a page of notes, he lays out the most basic questions in preparation for his September conversation with Markham. Where did he sleep? What time rise? Where wash? Where breakfast? What eat? Etc. Another page of notes records his overall conception of the film. 2. Conciseness of brief title, brevity. One title, one shot as sync sound effects. This idea came to life in Barry Lyndon. Casting, much less of a problem. No conflict. MGM, written on the side. He has a clear plan for the narration. Rapid but normal narration. 162 words per minute. If the film was 180 minutes long and 1/3 of it were narrated, 60 minutes times 162 words per minute equals 9,720 words. May 10,000 words. That would mean his entire life would have to be placed in 25 book pages. He envisioned dividing Napoleon into 2 parts, 2-part film, each 3 hours, both play together, 2 admissions. Second film would gain as much as first, if first was a hit. There are also storyboards in the book that he never wants others to see. The storyboard depicts the first scene of the movie. 4-year-old Napoleon is lying in bed listening to his mother tell a story. The close-up in the picture is Napoleon's mother, Letizia. Some of his personal letters are revealed in the book. He wrote to the German actor Oskar Werner. October 10, 1968. Dear Mr. Werner, I am at work in the script for a film I am planning to do in 1969, on the life of Napoleon. I don't know what your plans are for the next year, but if you are free, and if there is a possibility of you passing through London, sometime during the next year months, I should be delighted to meet with you to discuss the possibility of you playing the title role. Werner previously starred in French New Wave director Truffaut's Jules and Jim. He wrote to Audrey Hepburn, asking her to play Josephine. Hepburn wrote in reply, Dear Mr. Kubrick, thank you for the kind letter you wrote me. I am flattered and happy you would hire me to work with you. I still don't want to work for a while, so cannot commit at this time. I hope you can understand and will think of me again someday. Thank you again. Warmest wishes, Audrey Hepburn. Other letters reflect his helplessness. He explained to MGM executives why Napoleon and Waterloo cannot be compared. The general meaning is that Waterloo is filmed during the 100 Days Dynasty, while Napoleon shows Napoleon's life. In 1971 he wrote to Markham. Dear Felix, thank you for your note. I am working on the Napoleon deal and editing A Clockwork Orange. I hope you are well. Waterloo was such a silly film. It will not make things any easier, but in the end I am sure we will get it done. In October of the same year, he wrote in a letter communicating with investors, I expect to make the best movie ever made. This is the last letter in the book. Kubrick may have acted so confidently because he realized that the opportunity to make Napoleon was fading away. This is the third and last time he has sought investment. After turning over this letter, it is the script of Napoleon. It should be noted that this script does not represent Kubrick's final conception for the film. In a previous letter, he told investors he had a new idea for the script. Rumor has it that he plans to find someone to rewrite the script. This person may be the original author of A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. The plan eventually fell through. The 1969 script is extremely faithful to historical sources. On the basis of historical materials, Kubrick added his own imagination to the blank of history. If you want to appreciate the Napoleon, you can only read it yourself. I will post the download link of the script in the description. After reading the script, I can probably understand why Kubrick was so fascinated by Napoleon. At the beginning of the script, 4-year-old Napoleon holds a teddy bear in his arms, listening to his mother tell a bedtime story. He went to France to study alone at the age of 7. Relying on his talent and hard work, he became general at the age of 26. He witnessed the French Revolution firsthand. When Louis XVI was escorted to the balcony by the crowd, he stood in the crowd and witnessed everything. He looked down on Louis XVI as being too weak. In October 1795, Vendémiaire in France, he suppressed the royalist with the strongest possible means. Since then, he was named
Général Vendémiaire.
Which also allowed him to rise in French politics. In November 1799, he became the first consul of France through a coup, and in 1804 he became Emperor of the French. On the European battlefield, he had few opponents. This stems from his strategic innovation. He believed that in war, everything should give way to the mobility of the army. His opponents cling to the rigid military tactics of the past, and the carriages slow them down. Napoleon's army only carried a small amount of supplies when they marched. He promoted the strategy of living off the land, allowing soldiers to find food in nearby cities and villages, in fact, plundering the food of local villagers. Living off the land allowed Napoleon's army to move quickly, which became the key to his strategy. Kubrick deliberately wrote the passage of French soldiers robbing supplies into the script, and a similar plot appeared in Barry Lyndon. Napoleon was not without weaknesses. His biggest weakness was naval warfare. Therefore, Britain, with its powerful navy, became a thorn in his side. In order to restrict Britain, he signed a treaty with Russia to impose a trade blockade on Britain. The continental blockade policy caused problems for Russia's own economy. In the end, Russia defaulted, and French-Russian relations deteriorated. He decided to invade Russia, the biggest mistake of his life. In the early days of the French invasion of Russia, the Russians were retreating steadily, and Napoleon led his army to advance all the way. The turning point came in September 1812, when the French army just occupied Moscow. The Russians set fire in the city, and more than 2/3 of the city was burned down. Napoleon decided to retreat. On the way, the long supply line was constantly harassed by the Cossacks. The French army was ravaged by its own lack of preparation and the pursuit of troops and diseases. When it arrived in Warsaw, the original army of more than 600,000 people was only less than 60,000 people. In 1813, Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria formed the Quadruple Alliance, and the two sides fought many times in what is now Germany. In October, the French army was defeated at the Battle of Leipzig. On March 31, 1814, Talleyrand and others defected, and Paris was occupied. Napoleon abdicates. According to the Treaty of Fontainebleau, he was exiled to Elba, a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. On February 26, 1815, he sneaked back to France from Elba Island. Except for Provence, which had more royalist forces, he was warmly welcomed by the people of all French regions. On June 18 of the same year, Napoleon failed again at Waterloo. There are various explanations for the failure of Waterloo. The German writer Zweig attributed it to Grouchy's indecision, but Zweig is a novelist after all, and his explanation is too much hastily. In the book, Napoleon, A Life, the reasons for the failure of the war were analyzed in detail. In fact, Napoleon's own command decisions and the delay of combat timing caused by the weather had a major impact on the outcome of the war. Napoleon, who was defeated again, was exiled to St. Helena. Whenever others talked about the Battle of Waterloo with him, he often said, "If it were only to be done over again." He lived on the island for 6 years, suffered from various diseases, and eventually died of stomach cancer. As he was dying, he told his attendant Bertrand that he had dreamed of Josephine. "I wanted to kiss her, but she didn't want to kiss me. She slipped away the moment I wanted to take her in my arms." Napoleon died on May 5, 1821. The British officers who guarded him insisted on engraving his name on the tombstone, Napoleon Bonaparte, while Montholon and Bertrand refused anything but the imperial title, Napoleon. In the end, it was left nameless. The script ends in Letizia's bedroom. His mother, dressed in black, sits alone, a study of gloom and lament. The shutters are closed and the semi-darkness of the room is broken by bright slivers of sunlight. The camera moves slowly away from Letizia, to an open portmanteau. It is filled with very old children's things, faded toys, torn picture books, wooden soldiers, and the teddy bear Napoleon slept with as a child. Kubrick is extremely annoyed by others calling him a genius, because this title ignores years of hard work behind the scenes. This book is just showing us that behind a masterpiece is not just an epiphany of genius, but also the hard work day after day. To make the work perfect, he read, talked, wrote, and thought for over 2 years. Immerse himself in the life of Napoleon. However, do the best you can and leave the rest to the will of God. With the cash crunch of Hollywood studios and Waterloo, the film missed its best shooting period. In 1975, Barry Lyndon was released, and it was a flop at the box office. Napoleon is even more out of reach. The project was never brought up again during Kubrick's lifetime. Although the archives and script of Napoleon are now back to light. But the picture in Kubrick's mind is no longer possible to be seen. We can use the images of Barry Lyndon to imagine what Napoleon should look like. Imagine, if all goes well, how this masterpiece will make a name for itself in film history. But Napoleon's life tells us a simple truth. History cannot be assumed. And history has regrets.